Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Dr. Anjali, a Christian doctor who writes poetry for Jesus and share Bible history and also helps people develop their mindset in this world being a Christian. Today I brought a story called Yellow Paper, which is about a woman who have gone through mental illness and whose voice was overlooked by her husband, who is a doctor, a physician, who overlooked her needs when she was badly asking him for help. Yes, he gave her certain help, but all he gave was a book treatment, which is rest and cure, which have impacted her even more and brought eventually this book to the world. This is how she helped the world, and in medical field most of those people know this story and they have learned that how people with mental illnesses go through certain emotions and how they are ignored. So, where do I start? Let me tell you about this book first. The book was written 100 years ago in 1800s, which means it endured about 100 years now. You can find this book online. The title of this book is Yellow Paper, and the author of this book is Charlotte, Charlotte Gilman. She's a woman whose husband is a doctor, and she started suffering from a postpartum depression kind of mental illness, which they diagnosed in those days. And her physician doctor have been taking care of her since then, managing his job. So what happens is, while she was under treatment, she was told to take rest mentally and physically. He tells her that she don't have to think anything, she don't have to do anything which involves her physically or which involves her brain. But apparently, this woman have interest in writing and reading poems. Writing, I don't think poems. She have interest in literature, like she like to put things onto paper. So somewhere she has this relationship with paper and literature, and she likes to keep herself occupied mentally before this illness or in general. So what happens in this course of journey? They happen to go into the narrator in this book starts with a scene called where she and her husband goes to a house for 3 weeks so that a part of her treatment is like where the atmosphere, the rest, and the change of places would help her emotionally. So she will be taken for 3 weeks to a home, which is very beautiful, but also very old home. It is like a castle, but also an abandoned home, yet a beautiful one. So somehow they get this home for a good budget or good cost, and they go there. Without any doubt, they go there, and her husband is very edgy. Like he don't give much attention to emotions or anything like spirituality or any imagination thing. It is not that he's very rude to her, it is just the way he is. And he always concentrated on her treatment in a book manner, like a textbook treatment of her illness. So after going there, she was put there for 3 weeks. All the resources were arranged around her. All the renovation in that home was done. Just the servants she need for those 3 weeks. His main goal was that she will have a change of environment and so that she can breathe some good air. That home have a beautiful garden. Okay, so it also have big windows to that building. In those different things have different vibe. It was beautiful. Apparently, it is beautiful. But what she was asked is that where do she stay in that room, and According to her situation, she keeps asking her husband to change her from place to place because something in that house gave her so much of pressure on her mind, which is the yellow wallpaper. That house had a yellow wallpaper sticked to the walls from bottom to the roof of that house, which is like, the olden houses are very high up to the roof, and yet those, you know all those walls were covered with that yellow paper. And being an old house, even the paper, how it will turn into different colors and shades, very stinky and very dirt with fungus and everything like that. And somehow this woman, being alone, where her husband is busy and he only gives orders for her treatment, and of course he loves her in a way, but he's he never answers her emotionally. He don't listen to her emotionally. So as soon as she get into that building, over 1 week, she says to them like, I don't want this yellow wallpaper, can you remove it? But being a big house and being a rented one, or some reasons, the husband and relatives and the servants, they always dismiss her request. For 1 week, she gets very much traumatized by that yellow paper on that wall, and she starts thinking, why is this yellow paper sounds so like horrific to my mind? Why this yellow paper on this wall is making me like feel something is creeping upon me, or why it is making me feel like a burden? She starts questioning herself a lot, but she have no escape to go. She don't have any other rooms without yellow paper. So apparently she develops a toxic relationship with that yellow paper, and she decides that what is that inside that yellow paper, between the yellow wallpaper and the wall, that is talking to me, which is making me go crazy. She want to find out that. That is the conclusion she came to. After many discussions with her husband, where he dismissed her, not discussing anything to her emotionally, not comforting her, or whatever she needs was not provided emotionally and mentally. So by second week, she'll get to a point where there is something between the yellow paper and the wall that is trapped inside that, which is a woman. A woman is crawling behind the paper, and that woman should be brought outside. The narrator was very keen about the woman, and she thinks that I should observe that woman's behavior, how she changes over the day, over the night, and whatever. So, as she observes, she tries to find out that woman not only behind the wallpaper but also in different areas of the building. She starts seeing her, searching for her out of the windows of the building, among the lanes of garden and everything, and she always sees only one thing, that that woman is crawling. She's not, you know she's same behind the wallpaper, she's same behind the windows, she's same in between the lines of garden. This is what she is seeing by the second week. Most of us think that this is a horror movie or horror story or a ghost in that old house, but no. Uh, Stay with me, you'll understand by the end. So, uh, the narrator in second week, she really explains the feeling, how she feels when she sees that woman doing that for herself without any help. She thinks that that woman need help, but nobody are helping her. Then she'll think that I'm the one, I'm going to help that woman who's trapped behind that yellow paper, and I will bring her out. Anyhow, her husband and servants are not interested to bring that yellow paper down because of various reasons, and it also sounded stupid for them, literally. And they made her feel miserable about her whatever she want. about her needs or her, you know, what she want to do there and why she want to do. Everything was dismissed, her voice was ignored and overlooked, and she was given only physical safety but not mental safety. Then, by third week, she starts making arrangements and she starts observing the patterns of servants and the patterns of her husband when he comes home and when he goes to work, and what she should do when people are not around them, and how she should bring that yellow wallpaper down. She makes arrangements until 4 to 5 days. Sometimes she get caught by those people, and those people suspects her, thinking that she is going to plan something or something like that. But she is very smart by then, and she will not let people doubt her. And last day of the last week, the third week, she will make all the arrangements. She brings a big rope from somewhere in that house, from hiding from the servants. Her husband is gone to the work, and that day she will get that rage, courage, and that thing to get out of her own comfort zone or her own zone, which people have put her into, and she'll decide to remove that whole wallpaper by herself without anyone's help. It was like her goal and aim to do that. Then, within few hours before her husband comes home, she should do it. She locks all the room, all the windows, and mainly the main room, which hall or room which she was staying in. She will cover it with all the locks and windows, and she'll start ripping off all the wallpaper into ribbons, 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 like big, big ribbons, and whole floor will be filled with the wallpaper. When that wallpaper comes down, she starts sleeping on the floor, and she has some kind of relief that she will roam around the hall like a rolling, people when they are happy or when they are in some kind of freedom, they'll do all that somersaults or the kind of rolling they do. She was doing that happily, screaming, and she was bringing all that ease inside her for 2 weeks. And then suddenly she hears the knock on her door, which is her husband standing there, and her husband is already doubting something has happened because the door is locked. And he asks suspectfully, saying that, "What is happening?" And she says, "Nothing, darling. You can come home. Come to the room." But she locked it. So somehow her husband is not very happy with what she did, and he will try to break the door open and see what is happening inside. And when he opens the door, he sees her among that great stuff of yellow paper. You imagine what big walls and big paper. I think it is several meters, and he sees her among that, and he collapses there. And she sees her husband collapsing. He sees her doing what she can do, exactly what she want to do. This is what happens. She does what she have to do finally, and her husband sees that and he collapses. Her husband's rules were broken in that moment by her, and he is not very much happy with it. So the equation is totally balanced in both ways, but her husband is not happy, and she finally is doing something she want to do. It is not that that thing have brought some victory to her, but she did first thing what she had to do. Nobody won over her. Nobody held her in a cage by not giving her attention to her wishes, attention to her uh, whatever complaints she has mentally with the surroundings. So now the moral of the story is, this is a metaphoric, a fictional story which this woman put it in a form of 3 weeks of story what she have gone through mentally. That yellow wallpaper is considered as a film in her life which people could not remove and see what she's going through mentally. She wanted those people which have that scales on their eyes and on their senses, not understanding what she was going through. She was literally crawling in her life, though she's physically normal. She was literally crawling day to day. Her mind is so much trapped in between the wall and the wallpaper. And people could not see. They see only what they want to see. So when she herself breaks out, maybe in real life, she must have broken those barriers so that somehow people will hear her voice. And her husband, who was listening to her only clinically and diagnosing her and asking her to rest and be cured. Apparently, one day he wanted her to be cured, but you know, this is not the process that she was expecting from her husband. He always dismissed her voice, and so somewhere when she did what she had to do, she felt like her husband's authority over her voice collapsed. And that gave her so much peace, so much freedom from that cage of mental illness, more than the mental illness itself. So, here, this is how a mental illness causes pain to people, not just in their own mind, but because of their expectation from from their persons around them. They always have one kind of expectations from people, they deal with a lot inside their mind, and not everyone will give attention to each of their word. After this book is released in 1800s itself, it have brought so much of change in physicians and in doctors who treat mentally ill patients, that listening to, apart from giving a diagnosis and a book textbook level treatment, it is important to have compassion and it is important to have communication for hours to such patients. That is why we see today, like, psychiatrists give a lot of time to them to share whole story, to share what they feel, and to share their expectations to them during this journey of mental illness. And as this doctor wife, she kept obeying her husband. She kept listening to him. Like, she is a writer. She likes to write, or she likes to keep things on paper. But he says that you're not psychologically good, so stop putting efforts, stop getting tired. So his concern is different, but her need is different. So somehow that paper around her became her enemy, and you know it became like a fence around her, and she could not come out of it until she broke that fence that people have built based on their own mindset. And as Christian, I could not help myself under I could not resist myself to think how Jesus was close to those voices who are overlooked in the society. Jesus always listened to those people whose voices are overlooked, who are mentally ill. Example, Mary Magdalene, she was, she have money, she have, you know, businesses and something like that. She's an active human being. But her mental illness, and nobody heard her, and nobody took care of her or at least spent emotionally on her. Jesus comes to her and heals her, right? That is why, as Christians, we believe that mental illnesses belong to darkness and satanic everything. But where in such cases both medical and faith plays important role. Where medical reflection, where I can say that as a doctor, this story reminded me that a person's story is beyond the diagnosis. Every patient have a story to tell you, have an heart desire to talk to doctor. And as a Christian, it helped me to understand that how isolation and Jesus go hand in hand. She may not have that access of Jesus, but as Christians, most of those people who are in pain and whose voices are suppressed have Jesus. Jesus is close to the brokenhearted, and Jesus wants to give freedom and peace to such people who are oppressed and under affliction, right? This story itself brought so much change in mental health, uh, you know, treatment in those days. But when we are in pain and when we go to Jesus, who is already present to you in your life, it is really, really a blessing to have Jesus in our life as Christians. One thing is he's close to brokenhearted, and the second thing is he breaks all those chains. He listens to your heart even when your words cannot explain fully, and he heals what nobody ever heard. He heals you from core. He brings down all your neurotransmitters which were under the influence of darkness, under, the mental illness thing and everything. It is not just a story of home, yellow paper, yellow wallpaper. It is not just a story of rooms or walls that are covered, but it is a story of the voice that is overlooked. Thankfully, this woman have helped many people understand or helped people that they are seen at least. And the greatest lesson that I have learned is never let someone suffer in silence. When you have an opportunity to listen, listen to them with love, listen to them with care and attention, not dismissing their smallest of wishes. As Christians, we have this opportunity to pray for them. If you know anyone who are going through mental illness, pray for them, be there for them, like, spending time with them and listen to their story. I know they tell when they are in anxiety and depression, they keep repeating their pain so much. I also read it somewhere that they get attached to their pain. That is like bondage, right? So if you are a Christian who knows someone had or your own journey, if you are going through such pain, remember that God is close to the brokenhearted, and your voice reaches heaven's courts, and God sends his angels to help you, and he gives the peace that no one in this world can offer. And that is how, for me, it is a lesson learned from the yellow paper, from Charlotte Tillman's story, how it impacted medical field and me as a Christian. And now I want to share this to my followers and my subscribers so that you will know the importance of your voice to be heard, and how important it is to be a listener, and how important it is to have a listener in your life, and that is one and only Jesus Christ. Don't take it for granted. God is close to you, and talk to him day and night, no matter how big your pain is. His ear is always close to you. If you are a radical book reader, I recommend you to read this book. She actually wrote that the literature skills were very high, and to depth, the way she described the mental illness is like, she took that metaphor of that book, that room, the yellow, how she described this very much, gut wrenching to me. Somehow it did not affect me. But if you are a radical reader of books, you read any kind of soft or not This is not a soft book, but go ahead and read. This is present online. The Yellow Paper by Charlotte Gilman. I hope this helped you in many ways. Please do like, share, and subscribe my channel. Until next time, bye.